This is the ORU Baseball Coaches Show, powered by Playfly. Get the inside scoop and unique perspective from the winningest coach in program history, Ryan Fulmer. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Golden Eagles, Connor Clark.
Welcome back into another episode of the ORU Baseball Coaches Show, episode 9, coming at you live from the Twin Cities this time around. Our first on-location, on-the-road Coaches Show here. Connor Clark, that's head coach Ryan Fulmer, and we're getting geared up for the postseason here coming up tomorrow at noon as Oral Roberts opens up the Summit League Conference tournament against the South Dakota State Jackrabbits in the 1-4 game. Once again at noon Central Time. We don't have to deal with any more of those time changes anymore. No more Colorado. So everybody's on the same page now. But a lot to play for. A lot of really important baseball coming up. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But we'll go back to last weekend and we'll discuss some things that have been announced this morning as well regarding a lot of the guys on the team. But Coach, as always, thanks so much for the time. Glad you're here. And how have the hotel beds been treating you over the last few days?
Yeah, I'd like to be home, right? It's going to be, hopefully by the time it's all said and done, I think 11 days on the road, something like that. So we're right in the middle of it right now. Luckily, we're in a pretty good location, though. Had a chance to go to the Twins game for a little while last night and some good restaurants and that kind of stuff. So enjoying hotel life as much as you can this time of year.
We're right on the campus of the University of Minnesota right now, and you step outside, you're blocks away from where they play football and really everything. I mean, it's all kind of jam-packed into a 2-city block radius, and you mentioned we got to go to the Twins game for about, 5.5 innings last night before the rain came?
We got a good 5 innings.
Yeah,
right?
a good 5 innings. We saw 2 home runs, and then, of course, Cade and I were very, very upset that we missed the ABS challenge because that was one of the things we really wanted to see. And, of course, we were in the concourse when it happened. But that was a good time as well. Good to get all the guys out there, too. I've never been to Target Field. Have you been to Target Field?
That was the second time I've been there. I was the first time we were there. We were in town playing. This has been several years ago, and did a little tour of Target Field. Did the tour of the dome downtown where the Vikings play, and we were actually playing in a tournament up here early in the season. Had an opportunity to go there, but beautiful ballpark, man. Yeah. Great setting downtown, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It is super nice and super modern. I've seen it so many times on TV, but actually being there, it was a fun experience. Another ballpark to get the check off the list as well. But we'll talk about your team here coming off of a series win against Northern Colorado to close out the regular season. And you guys dropped game 1, but you come back and respond in games 2 and 3, I thought, in a really, really impressive way. We'll start with a Friday game, and it was a little bit closer throughout maybe the first 60% or so of the game, and then of course, in that 8th inning, your bats really came to life with those 9 runs, and we saw some pretty household names for your team as well. Put together some big-time performances, i.e. however you say his name, Makani Tanaka, putting up 2 extra base hits in the same inning.
Yeah, I thought late in the game, we came alive and gave ourselves an opportunity, just couldn't hold on. But again, I mean, that's one of those games. You got to give them a lot of credit. I thought their starter was really good. Especially early. I thought his stuff was really good. So, good preparation going into this weekend.
Yeah, and, I mean, you guys were able to get a really good pitching performance out of Brendan Asher on that Friday game. Yeah. I know we talked about that pregame heading into Saturday, but he's a guy who comes out of that Cincinnati game rather early, and, of course, he was taken out with a little bit of a fear of injury. Obviously, that's no more, and he comes out and gives you guys a quality start, his first of the year, too, and transitioning him back into that weekend role, which we saw him in so much last year, it just felt like he was so comfortable out there pitching on the weekend. It felt like he hadn't skipped a beat.
Yeah, I thought his outing was really good. I thought he was sharp. I thought the stuff was good. I thought the command was really good. Again, as you and I talked, that's a ballpark that has a ton of hits in it. Mm-hmm. And the last thing you want to do is allow those free passes. He walked nobody in his outing. I thought that was extremely important. So, again, good to see him get back out there. And again, it took us a long time to kind of get him lengthened out into that role, but he looked very, very comfortable last weekend.
He sure did, and it was definitely an impressive performance to see you guys win that game 14-2 in 8 innings, and you guys have obviously scored the 9 runs in that 8th inning. And I think out of all the things that happened in that 8th inning, I think the talk of the town was Cole Dunning's pinch hit homer because I think everybody thought it was going to go over the apartment buildings in left field. It almost did. It went off of the apartment buildings there, but that was an interesting conversation I had with a few of the guys prior to game 3 of that series. Is when you really boil it down and think about it, and this is just Cole Dunning being Cole Dunning at the spots that he's given. 3 of his 5 home runs this year have come in pinch hit capacity. So, I mean, he is not letting those opportunities slide by him very much.
He's been very, very good in that role. It seems like every time we need somebody off the bench to step in and give us a little spark, he's been able to do that. So, and it's not easy to do. That role is difficult, is tough, and not a lot of guys can do it. But man, he seems to be able to get it done. We were joking around with him, or some of our coaches were joking around and calling him Matt Stairs. Anybody remembers Matt Stairs throughout his career, one of the best pinch hitters of all time. And you look up, and Matt Stairs has, 250 or 300 home runs in the big leagues. So, but Cole has been great in that role. And again, we talk about going into championship type play in tournaments like this, man, it takes everybody. And there's no question he's going to have an opportunity to step in and get a big hit for us at some point.
Cooper Kelly's performance in that Friday game as well was one that stuck out to me because he officially goes 0 for 1, but he reaches every single time he heads to the plate. And, of course, I mean, he continued that into game 3 as well. He reached 4 times in that game. But just the way he's able to get on base in so many different ways, and I kind of feel like I'm in Moneyball saying that. He gets on base. He gets on base, right? But he does that at a very consistent rate, too. And a guy who's kind of in that middle of the order, too, keeps that train going for you guys when you're able to move the train up 90 feet.
Yeah, I want to say he had two walks and 2 hit batters, 2 hit by pitches that game, too. So, as you said, man, just created a lot of opportunity, created a lot of traffic. And, man, that's what you need. Some days you don't get a ton of hits, and you got to find ways to get on base and create opportunities. And he's done that a ton this year for us. And again, down the stretch, we're going to need that. We're going to need a lot of scoring opportunities. And when you get in tournament settings like this, and there's a ton of pressure that goes into games like these, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of pressure moments. It's going to take a lot of guys on bases. You're going to have to create some traffic and then make a swing at some point.
Well, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the weekend Vailele Kana-Yates had, because, I mean, he was spectacular. Player of the week this week, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. I mean, he was all over the place. He was a triple away from the cycle in game 3. And we talked about it in a couple of the pregame interviews over the weekend, but we kept referencing what he did at the end of last year. And it's very reminiscent to what he did last year heading into this year. And, of course, it's always dangerous when you have a guy like that heat up in the way that he's heating up at this point in the year.
Well, yeah, we need him to keep that train rolling, right? We need him to carry it over into this week, and we need to get a lot more guys going too. If we can get to the point where from top to bottom, man, we have a bunch of tough outs. You talked about Cooper Kelly, and you talked about Vi, and you talked about McConney, and how those guys have been very, very good. But it's going to take everybody, man. We're going to have a bunch of guys step in there and create opportunities and again make swings like those guys have done.
Well, he had a really good weekend, and then his Hawaiian teammate, the Hawaiian tandem is what we've been calling them in the lineup, just because they've been so good right next to each other. Makani Tanaka, and it's announced this morning, we'll dive into this right now, he is your Summit League Player of the Year this year, and a guy who's had 13 home runs, 50 RBIs. He leads your team in both of those categories. He leads your team in average, OPS. I mean, the line goes down, and we've talked about him throughout the year. He's really paced your team offensively from start to finish, and obviously a very well-deserved award. And, of course, I think maybe a lot of eyes were on Kana-Yates preseason to win that award, and, of course, it's McConney emerging, and, again, very, very well-deserved for him this year.
Yeah, extremely well-deserved. A guy that's had a great year and been very consistent really from start to finish. He's a guy that, early in the year, as you and I have talked at length, man, he carried us early in the year. I thought we had moments where we were really struggling offensively, and he did a bunch for us. So, glad to see him get honored in that way.
You guys had a ton of honors this year. Makani Tanaka ends up winning Player of the Year. Martell Davis wins Defensive Player of the Year, and I think a lot of us saw that coming just because of what he's been able to do on the diamond. You and I talked last coach show too, and I think it reigns true over the last few weeks as well. But just the range in which he possesses defensively
makes it look easy.
Is special to watch.
Yeah, and you get upset with guys that make the game look that easy on that end. And Martell's a guy that does that, can slow the game down, has a ton of range. throws the ball very accurately. Man, really, really turns that double play. So proud to see him get recognized in that way as well.
I mean, he was good at shortstop for you guys last year, and then the transition to second base has been absolutely seamless, and he's been absolutely phenomenal this year and leads your guys in, total attempts and assists, and has one of the fewest error totals out of anybody on the roster and out of anybody in the Summit League as well. You guys have been at the top of the Summit League defensively all season long. Speaking of more defense, pitcher of the year is Jack Hill this year, and another really, really good story on your roster, too. A guy who had an ERA of over 9 last year, and a guy who started a few midweeks and then obviously came out of the bullpen for the majority of his work, was trying to find his footing and what role would work for him. He's been strictly a reliever here this year, and I mean, he's just been absolutely lights out from start to finish.
He has, and as you said, in a lot of different roles, too. Used him long, we've used him short. Last year we used him as a spot starter some, a guy that's taken on a ton of different roles. I think one of the things that really stands out for me is it's good to see guys get rewarded for the work that they put in. He's a tireless worker. He's very disciplined. And, man, you love to see guys get rewarded for that kind of effort on an everyday basis. So, man, glad to see Jack earn that award, and well-deserved, man. He pitched in a lot of different roles, and he's been crucial not only to our bullpen but our pitching staff and our team in general. He's done a lot. I think what was he 5-1, 6-1, something like that.
He is 6-0.
6-0, 5 or 6 saves, whatever that looks like. So, man, a guy that's done everything.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that he comes in a save situation, whether that's one inning. He's been a guy who's thrown 5 1/3 in relief, scoreless. I mean, he's just done it all. And again, that's kind of like talking about Martell Davis's range defensively. His versatility in his roles that he can play is just such an underrated part of his game. Now, obviously, you can boil it down to balls and strikes. Yeah, he throws a really good pitch, right? But the way that he could do it in just so many different facets has been really, really fun to watch. And I mean, for you as a head coach, too, how nice is it, at least from, a guy from my perspective, every time Jack Hill comes to the game, you pretty much think it's over because that's how good he's been.
You feel like you have an opportunity to win every time he touches it. And man, that's played out all year long. He's, as you said, he's come in short, 1 inning saves, 5 inning saves, whatever it has taken, he has done that for us. And it's a guy that recovers really well, too. So when you get in the postseason and you get in these tournaments where you have to play a bunch of games in a short amount of time, that's a guy that can roll back and pitch in multiple days, too. So extremely valuable asset to have, and I'm glad he got honored that way.
And we'll talk about the pitching puzzle pieces as we move on here today, because we all know it gets a little wacky when it comes into tournament time, just how many people pitch in how many days. And, well, finally, I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but you did win Coach of the Year this year, so we have to talk about it. So, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Another award. And, I mean, in a league, too, where, I mean, there are a lot of experienced head coaches in this league who have seen a lot of baseball, who have been at a lot of really high-level places as well. And just to be hit with that honor yet again in that group, I mean, what does that mean for you? And obviously, it just kind of shows what type of program you guys have been running here for quite some time.
Yeah, it shows you what kind of players we have, what kind of assistant coaches that we have, and support staff and all those things. So it's a group award for me and for us. So that's the way I look at it. That's the way we receive it. So, man, proud of our guys, proud of our staff, proud of our players. Now we get a chance to go play and hopefully play next week too.
Yeah, well, that is the goal. So you guys end up winning 4 of the 5 individual awards this year. And then we'll list off the first and second teamers for everybody listening. But Vailele Kana-Yates is a first-team All-Summit League player. Martell Davis, first team. Makani Tanaka, first team. Jack Hill, first team. Easton Teal, of course, first team as well. And then on to second team for ORU. Hudson Ellis gets in there. Really good to see him in there. Will Edmondson is also a second teamer this year as well. And I believe, am I missing somebody? Cooper Combs, there it is. He's also a second teamer. I thought he was in there. I read right over him. And then honorable mentions, Cooper Kelly from ORU is an honorable mention this year. He's the only Golden Eagle in the honorable mention. So that wraps up the Summit League postseason awards for 2026. So let's head into this tournament that's going to begin tomorrow. Obviously, you guys will practice here today at noon over at U of M, and you guys got the opportunity to practice yesterday as well. And we'll start with just kind of the overall impressions of where you guys will be playing baseball for the next few days. Kind of an interesting fusion of natural surface and turf with the dirt mound and dirt batter circle as well. That's something that I feel like you don't see very often, and a turf that may or may not play a little bit fast.
Yeah, it may play fast, right? Yeah, it's going to be a fast track. We've talked at home. We've played on a pretty slow track all year long, and man, I think this track fits us though too. I think you look at our home and road splits. We've been better on the road this year, and a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is a fast track like this. So I think that that kind of fits where we're at right now. But it is going to be a fast track. It's going to play a little bit smaller. We'll kind of see what the wind and the weather does, but yeah, it's going to play much different than our ballpark.
It'll certainly play different than Chapman Park, and you go from last weekend where it was pretty hot in Colorado to now this week it's going to be pretty chilly. I believe first pitch temperature is going to be 57 tomorrow. So I mean,
Yeah.
A, bundle up, and B, how much does that change just kind of the overall condition of the baseball game? Because obviously different temperatures, different conditions affects how the ball flies, et cetera, et cetera.
It does. I think it's crazy in our game how much the weather and the wind and the temperatures affect how the game is played and how you manage the game, and what you do with your bullpen, and what you look like in terms of matchups and who plays and who doesn't play. So a lot of it goes into field conditions, as you talked about. A lot of it goes down to weather, but you get to this time of the year, I think your lineup has been pretty solid. So we have a good idea of who's going, and again, our guys are older, right? They've been around, they're experienced. So I don't think the weather is going to play much of a factor this weekend.
Well, again, you guys will get started tomorrow at noon against South Dakota State. We'll just run through the bracket here real quick. So game one will be tomorrow at noon. South Dakota State, ORU, Northern Colorado, and Omaha will take on each other at 6 o'clock. The winners of those two games will play at 6 o'clock on Thursday. The losers will play at noon again on that Thursday. And then, if you win the first two games, you have Friday off and yada, yada, yada. You get into the double elimination stuff, and we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But you guys take on a Jackrabbit team that you haven't seen in a little bit of time, but a Jackrabbit team that you guys have had a lot of success against lately. And that series up in Brookings was one where it was kind of a part of the beginning of where your offense really started to break out this year. And, of course, it hasn't really stopped since.
Yeah. Again, you get to this time of year and you play everybody in your league 6 times. So you're pretty familiar with who they are. And they are very familiar with who we are as well. So, you come to these tournaments and you come to these games, and a lot of times it comes down to execution. Which team executes the best in the moments that matter the most. So hopefully we can go out and execute pitches on the mound, execute offensively, do what we need to do to, put some runs on the board and keep them from scoring. So, but again, you get to this time of year, we've played them 6 times, and I don't know how many times we played them last year, probably seven times.
I think it was 7 times.
Again, so they're very familiar with us. We're very familiar with them, and it comes down to execution.
Speaking of that 7th matchup, it came in the 1-4 game. So you guys have a rematch from last year heading into this year. The Jackrabbits at 21-30 overall, 12-15 in the Summit this year. So a little bit better record for the Jacks this time around than it was last year, and obviously kind of a tough place to play up in Brookings. Just talking about conditions, I mean, that's always kind of breezy and cold up there, but
it
is cold.
It was cold.
And Nolan Graw is kind of the guy to look out for. He's got 6 homers, 47 RBIs with a .328 average. He started all 48 games he's played in. Another one, Luke Lusky, who's one of the premier hitters in this league, 12 homers, 53 RBIs in 50 games. He has started all of them, and he leads the team in OPS at 1,009. And obviously there are a couple other guys littered in that lineup that can do some pretty good damage, but number 2 and number 9 are definitely the headliners.
Yeah, those guys sit in the middle of that lineup and really make them go. One right-handed, one left-handed, so there's balance to the right-left. Both of them have power. Both of them are disciplined. Both of them draw walks. Neither one of them chase the zone a whole lot. So you got to go out and make pitches. And the middle of that lineup is really, really good. So we're going to have to do a good job with those 2 guys. But more importantly, you got to do a good job with the guys around them too, right? You can't allow those guys to come up with a chance to hurt you with people on base or in scoring position. So we got to do a really good job with the guys surrounding those guys. And then when they step in there, man, we got to execute pitches.
And Ty Madison is the horse for their pitching staff this year, mostly out of the bullpen, 18 appearances, 6 starts, and 56 in the third. But he does lead the team in ERA with that sample size of 5.43, a whip of 1.33. Sam Schlecht also in there, more of your everyday starter with Sam Novotny. They have both started 13 games as well, and they're hovering around that 60 innings mark as well. When you take a look at their pitching staff as well, how do you go about attacking that with the offense? And I know that, you could see a plethora of different arms and it's hard to kind of map it out pregame, but when you look at this staff and just going off of previous experiences as well, what do they present challenge-wise?
Well, I think a lot of them are very similar with very similar stuff. You're going to see a lot of breaking balls. You're going to see a lot of changeups, cutters. The fastball for a lot of these guys is kind of that third pitch that they're going to go to. So you have to do a really good job with your rhythm. Like if you get caught out front a bunch, man, they're going to knock down some innings very, very quickly. You talked about Ty Madison, and he is kind of their Jack Hill, right? He started Friday night against us in Tulsa early in the year, and then came in out of the bullpen when we were in Brookings. So a guy that served them in a bunch of different roles too. But again, you're going to see guys with a lot of changeups, a lot of cutters, a lot of sliders, a lot of breaking balls. So we have to do a really good job with our rhythm. We have to stay towards the middle of the field. And then, again, if you watch our hitters and we're starting to get caught out front a little bit too much, we're going to be in trouble. So got to control the strike zone, got to control the rhythm.
Yeah, a guy who, again, 12 relief appearances, yet he's nearly at 60 innings this year. His longest outing came at North Dakota State. He threw 7 2/3, just 1 run. He struck out 10 in that game as well. So a guy who can bump up those K numbers if needed as well. But, I mean, speaking of pitching staffs, too, we'll take a look at yours. And obviously you guys have been really, really good on the bump all year long, whether it's starting, relieving, you name it. But you had kind of the precaution type blueprint, if you want to call it that, on Thursday, preparing you guys for this week with Easton Teal obviously having a day shorter of rest, and the same thing will go for pretty much everybody. But just kind of putting together that arm puzzle, if you will, moving forward. And obviously a lot of it's situational depending on what happens, but just kind of going into that tournament, what does that look like for you, and how do you go about as the coach trying to manage that as well as possible?
Well, I think there's a couple different things. As you talked about last weekend, you try to set yourself up going into this week and how you kind of would want to run your staff. So we're set up with Easton to go tomorrow. You said one day short on the rest, but he only threw 4 innings.
Right.
Of that one, we wanted to be very, very cautious with that. So we wanted to make sure that outing was short.
It wouldn't be the first time he had a weird schedule too. That's for sure.
It seems like every time, right? But he's a big, strong, competitive guy. So no concerns with him rolling around on 6 days rather than 7, especially after a short outing. And I thought he was really sharp the other day too. I thought the stuff was good, and again, so we feel good about that. We got the rest of those guys ready. We're going to wait till game 2 to kind of announce that starter, depending on some matchups and what might happen. So number one, we wanted to set ourselves up. We wanted to make sure everybody was good to go by tomorrow, and we feel good about that part. I think the second thing is you look at the matchups. You look at the data, you look at video, and try to put your guys in a position to be successful. So we'll go with best on best tomorrow, and then we'll take Thursday as it comes, depending on who we play and what the matchup is. We'll kind of see, but we feel like we're ready to go. We're as healthy as we can be right now, so here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation too throughout the year is just the amount of guys that can give you starters innings. And Jack Hill was one of the guys that we've already talked about, but you obviously have Easton Teal, Nathan Love, you've got Brendan Asher, you've got Jackson Farrell. So there's really 4 starters that you have in your arsenal right there. We've seen Jack Hill go really far, so there's 5. And then Connor Johnson is 6. So you can really mix and match however you really want to. And again, you guys are really the only team in the league that I feel like has that luxury in order to do so starting-wise. And again, that's got to take a little bit off the plate of your staff when it comes to, obviously you're waiting for the matchups and you're looking at the numbers X, Y, and Z. But again, the number of ways you can go, at least for us media people, is pretty intriguing.
Well, let's hope you're right then. I think matchups are one thing, and then it comes down to execution, right? You try to put guys in position where they have the best chance to be successful, and then you got to go out and execute. So we got to be able to do both those things. As a coaching staff, we got to try to put together a lineup we feel good about. We got to put together the rotation we feel good about, the matchups we feel good about, and then it comes down to execution. So it's a combination of both those things. We have to be able to do both. So Easton will get the ball tomorrow, man, and as you said, our bullpen is ready to go. So we'll see.
When you talk about numbers and planning out who's going to pitch when, how much do you rely on data when it comes to kind of mapping that out and evaluating pitchers specifically?
Yeah, I think, it takes a combination of both things, right? The data and the analytics are important. It's not everything. Your gut feel's got to be part of that. What you've done all year has got to be part of that. The preparation has got to be part of that. So it's a combination of all those things. I think when you look at Major League Baseball and you look at organizations, and I think the organizations that handle it the best are those organizations that combine some of the analytics with really good gut feel coaching moves and some of the traditional baseball stuff. So I think, the best people in the game kind of do a little bit of both, and that's what we try to do as well. We're not solely based on analytics, and we're not solely based on just gut feel and what you do. We try to combine those things to make the best possible decision we can make.
Now, flipping over to the offensive end, we were at the ballpark yesterday. A little bit of a smaller yard, 390 out to dead center, 330 down the lines, which is pretty comparable to Chapman Park, and then hovering around that 370, 360 mark in the gaps. And well, we've talked about home runs a lot recently with your team. You guys have hit 32 of them over your last 20 games, and that was not the case in the first half of the season. It certainly has really been in the last third of the season. And what about the long ball has just created so many more opportunities for your offense? And again, you guys have A, hit a ton more of them, and B, to me, that shows that, the ball looks like a beach ball half the time for your lineup, it feels like.
I think it just took a while for some of our older players to kind of get going early in the year. I think as a group, they all struggled kind of at the same time. You're not going to go through a 60-game schedule and be just steady the whole 60 game. That very, very rarely happens. There's some ebbs and flows and ups and downs that go into everybody's season every year, and it just seemed like all of those low parts and the slow parts all seem to come at the same time and at the beginning of the year. And I think you've seen some of that veteran presence start to take over, and there was no panic. And man, we've just kind of got going. Guys are comfortable. They're seeing the ball really well, and hopefully hitting down the stretch here, we can kind of keep that thing rolling. But you just kind of felt like it was a matter of time before this offense kind of got going. They're too good. They're too talented. Too much experience
for sure
not to get going this time of year.
Well, and the homer one of the three homers that Vi hit over the weekend too. I mean, it was a pitch that was a little bit high, and you just kind of felt like his eyes lit up when he saw that ball. And I feel like you could say that for a lot of guys, i.e., McConney, Eddie at times, Martell as of late as well. He's been a big run producer for you guys over the last 5-10 games as well. And a lineup that hit 70 homers last year, and now you guys aren't necessarily at that mark. But, again, you're swinging it like you're going to surpass that mark if you played a full 60-game season again.
Yeah, for me, I think the key to us, Eddie was off to a little bit of a slow start, and then he had the hamstring issue that kind of that hurt him a little bit over a couple of weeks. But since he kind of got back in the lineup and got healthy, for me, he's the guy that's kind of made all this thing work too. I mean, you look at our offense after that's happened, I think our offense has really taken off. So for me, he's the guy that really kind of kick-started this thing down the stretch here, and he's been very, very good. Man, he's gotten on base. He's driven in runs, singles, doubles, couple homers in there. He's done a little bit of everything for us offensively. And at that leadoff spot, as you said, the kind of year that McConney has had, he's created a ton of opportunities for McConney and Vi to be able to drive in runs. So for me, looking back at it, going, yeah, man, that was kind of the point where we started to get going a little bit offensively is when Eddie settled in and really became the guy we thought he was.
It's really incredible because the numbers for him at the beginning of the year weren't really there, and now you blink, the regular season's over. He has hits in 25 of his last 27 games. I mean, it has been consistent out of your leadoff man at that too. I mean, that's exactly what his job is supposed to be. Hey, go get on base. That's exactly what he's done over the last third, maybe even 40%. of the season. So we got a few more minutes here left with Coach Ryan Fulmer. And, well, of course, it's probably the most exciting time of the year for college baseball fans as well. And there's, a lot of discussion about conference tournaments, seeding, the whole nine. I know you guys really aren't paying attention to that so much this year because obviously there's still a lot to be written in the story for this season. But just kind of looking back for you, what are some of the more memorable moments of the postseason? I'm not going to let you answer with a College World Series because that's just too obvious of an answer. So I'm going to test you a little bit here on this Tuesday morning.
Memorable postseason moments.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, I think there's a lot of them. I think every team is so different. Every moment is so different. Every tournament is so different. Every postseason is so different. I don't know that I have one or two moments that really stand out. I think for me, you enjoy teams that play well at the end of the year, that get rewarded for playing well at the end of the year. I think that's the most enjoyable part for me. And, man, we've been fortunate to be part of a lot of those moments. Man, I don't think there's one that's any more special than the other. They're all different. They all have their own moments and specialties just because every team is so different too. So I don't know that I have one or two of those moments. I just enjoy seeing your team get rewarded for playing well at the end of the year.
So no walk-off at Oregon, no Blaze Brothers home run, even though I didn't let you answer with that.
Yeah, I mean, those are great moments for that group.
Right.
And then the next year is a different group, and they have different moments and different excitements. And, I don't know. Those were all great moments. I mean, there's no question about it. But we've been lucky, and I say we. I mean, our staff has been lucky to been a part of a bunch of those kind of moments with a bunch of different teams that have played well at the end of the year. So, man, I'm waiting for this team to write their moments and to share some special moments. So hopefully we get to do that towards the end of this week.
Yeah, we're really excited to see those moments come to life, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of them here over the next couple of weeks. But that'll do it for us, Coach. Thanks so much for the time as always. We'll let you get back to preparing for tomorrow, and obviously practice coming up in about 90 minutes over at U of M. So appreciate your time as always, and looking forward to see your team play tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's head coach Ryan Fulmer. My name's Connor Clark. This has been episode number 9 of the ORU Baseball Coaches Show. First pitch comes at you tomorrow at noon. You can catch the pregame right here on the ORU Sports Network at 11:45 as Oral Roberts starts yet another postseason baseball run here in the month of May. So thanks so much for making us a part of your mid-morning this time around here on the ORU Baseball Coaches Show. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. And, well, another postseason awaits starting on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.